14 lives, 7 men, 7 women. All are bound closer together than any of them know. For this is a tale of both good and evil. All of them are tied to destiny as the world around them collapses. Even though many of them are as different as night and day, they share a common goal of which they are unaware. These 14 lives are destined to destroy a great evil. Or perhaps they shall only destroy each other, for each life contains its very own share of evil. Nothing in this world is truly black and white, after all, and nor will it ever be. Now it is time for the pieces to introduce themselves. 1. The Monster. He woke up with his eyes closed and a sensation that he was floating. He could slightly hear voices, but he couldn't make out what they were saying because they were muffled. He kept his eyes closed, observing the area around him using his other senses. Suddenly, a loud alarm went off, and he could see lights through his closed eyelids. The voices got louder when the alarm went off, so that he could finally hear what they were saying. "Subject 502 is awake! Someone shut him down! Pull the plug! It's not working. 502 has fully cut himself off from the system. We have no control!" He opened his eyes and looked around him. He was in some sort of cylindrical tank filled with liquid. There were all sorts of tubes attached to him. He pulled off an apparatus that covered his mouth and nose, then followed with the rest of the tubes. He assumed from the yelling he'd heard that he was 502. He looked beyond the tank and saw 20 or so people in lab coats. Most of the people stared at him silently in shock, probably because they didn't expect him to be moving. Except one. This one was a teen, dressed in jeans and a striped t-shirt. He stepped forward with a smirk and laid one of his hands on the glass tube. "So, you're finally awake," said Striped Shirt. That's when memories began flooding back to 502. It wasn't much. There were holes, but it was enough to know. He remembered living peacefully in a small apartment with her. He remembered the white coats coming in. He remembered how they took her away. He remembered when they finally came for him. He remembered countless experiments they had performed on him, and he'd been helpless, powerless to stop them from torturing him. He wasn't powerless now. He raised one arm in front of his face and looked at his hand for a moment, then brought his hand down, slashing through the liquid he was floating in. The tank exploded. The liquid gushed everywhere, and shards of glass went flying. Striped Shirt took the full force of the blast, and fell over with shards of glass sticking out of him, as if he were some sort of gruesome pincushion. 502 landed on the ground outside of the tank. He didn't remember much about the apartment he lived in, nor did he remember most of the experiments. But he remembered enough to know that these were bad people. 502 made himself a promise, then and there, to eliminate all of them. He would hunt them, and kill each and every one of them. This promise made himself feel a little better. He grinned. He turned to one of the white coats and raised his hand.